Hello there. Welcome to JonnyBuildz. I am your host, Johnny, and with me tonight we have Marcella and Krista, the Pittsburgh Pals from, did I say that wrong? I almost said it sounded like Pals. Pals from from season 5, episode 1 so far of Lego Masters. And how are you guys doing tonight?
Doing good. Thanks.
Good. Awesome. So, let's get right into it really quick. Oh, we got John Singer. There he is. He's seeing everybody.
Hey!
Let me know real quick in the chat if volume is good. I usually try. We did a little test last night, just making sure that this all worked, and I usually make it so it's like volume is like halfway for YouTube. So let me know if it sounds good. There's Kristen. Kristen's watching too.
Kristen! Hello.
So
try and get into the chat so I can see it.
Oh, sounds good. All right, we got a confirmation it sounds good. All right, so let's go from. In real quick, these are spoilers. If you haven't seen episode 1, we're going to go through it. So if you haven't seen it and don't want to, you could always come back and watch this later. So, hey, Crimson Toaster, good to see you. So here we go. We're starting at the very beginning of the episode, prior to the doors opening. What was each of you feeling?
Holy crap, we're about to do this. I can't believe this is about to happen. This is real. Here we go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and for me, it reminded me like back when I used to play sports in high school, like that anticipation, nervous excitement, like, come on, let's do this, let's go.
Yeah, I can totally understand that. So, was it something? Did you guys keep like were you keeping like your thoughts to yourselves? Were you kind of like nudging each other? Were you like talking to the other contestants? How was that?
If I remember, you were behind me, right?
Yeah.
So we were very like excited, like little kids on Christmas morning. You're just like, let's go, let's go, let's go. I'm so ready, let's go.
Yeah, I think that was the bulk of the conversation between all the contestants was like, let's open the doors, let's go, we're excited.
So you kind of wanted to just get out there and just like get started with whatever it was.
Right, we wanted to see what was under the tree.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I wanted to see that brick pit. I wanted to see the room. I was ready to go.
So the doors open, they do their thing, lights come on and everything. And what's your first impressions of the Lego, I guess, the contest room?
I think I teared up a little because it was just like a lot to take in at once. Like you see it on TV, but we get to see it from an angle that most people don't, which is literally walking through those doors. So just taking it all in was like overwhelming.
It kind of felt like being in Willy Wonka's factory. Like everything was so big, and I don't think I ever realized those Lego bricks over each table. Like it was just this massive set piece that I was not anticipating. You see it on TV, like Krista said, but you're just not ready for how it looks in person.
Right. Yeah. So, and that was actually something I was going to ask. Does it feel like bigger than you expected? Like we see it on TV and we've seen previous, seasons. But like when you're there, like, and you see like the bricks hanging from the ceiling, like you said, does it all feel like it's like, wow, this is like huge? Or is it like, oh, I thought it'd be bigger than on TV?
No, for me personally, I thought it felt huge. Like I felt like a minifigure in the room. Like it was just really cool.
Yeah, I have to agree. I didn't think the room was as big as it was. Like in TV, it looks more compressed, but there's a lot of space in there.
Some of it is probably the angle. They shoot from so many different angles and stuff, trying to catch wide shots of everybody. But at times it's like very narrowly focused. So sometimes it does look like it's smaller.
Mm-hmm.
Now we did. Crimson Toaster asked or said, "You both are still kicking in the competition." Yes, they are in episode 2. We don't know if they're any further than that, but they are in episode 2.
Spoilers.
Yes, this is just for episode 1. We're just going over that. So, okay. So Will Arnett appears. Dun dun dun. Everybody's favorite host that also does Chevy commercials or GMC commercials. So what was your initial impression of the the things that he told you about what you were going to be building?
Well, first we do have to talk about the elephant in the room.
Oh.
We first noticed El Mustache.
So you noticed this.
Yes. That was the first thing we saw, and it was quite a shock, actually.
Yep.
I can understand that because it's been 4.5 seasons, and now.
But he looked so much like larger than life when we came through the doors, and he was just standing there, and we still didn't know yet what the challenge was going to be.
Right.
So we were just in awe of Will.
Yeah, the glow was around him.
It was crazy just being so close. Like, yeah, it was just like your mind comprehending, like, Will Arnett is standing right there.
Right. So he tells you what you're going to be doing, and what's that first response? Because, hey, it's going to be Star Wars. Boom.
I mean, you saw it all over Joe's face in the instant reap. That is exactly how it felt. It was just, we're doing Star Wars. Oh my God, we're doing Star Wars.
I was happy for Marcella.
Nice.
Because, Johnny, as you know, I have never seen a single episode.
We still need to fix that.
Right.
I think at this point, I'm waiting for the right time and the right viewing partner.
I get it. I get it. It is something that you must see, I think. So.
Yeah, for sure.
So when you heard what you were going to be doing, and the Death Star blew up the pieces, did you feel like the challenge was going to be very difficult, or did you think that, hey, my strengths in what I do building wise we can do this?
I felt pretty confident. I had a great sage to guide us through what we wanted to do and how to put the Star Wars spin on it. So it was kind of more of a fact of just getting it done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And we had 10 hours to get it done, as you saw. So we weren't used to building in such a fast pace.
Right.
But I think we sat down right away, which I don't really know if you saw that, but we had a plan. We wrote everything out. We knew what we wanted to do, what we wanted to accomplish, when we wanted to get it done. And we did all that.
Yeah. That was actually, that actually leads in. It's like, hey, the round's beginning and stuff. And yeah, on the TV, and I know whenever we were watching this all together at Dave and Buster's, and so everyone's talking with everyone. You don't know what snippet of the show, everybody saw or whatever. But they definitely focused on certain people and certain groups a lot more. And then you guys, it was kind of like we saw kind of, I guess, the middle. So we didn't see any of the real planning or whatever that you guys were doing. So what was your planning process? Like what did you go? Did you were you just using, paper to sketch it out? I don't know if you guys were allowed iPads or anything like that.
Yeah, we were pen and paper.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And we talked about when we, kind of stages of what we wanted to get done. In the 10 hours, what did we want to get done in the first half, the second half? What did we need to leave until the end?
And then the clock broke.
But we'll get there. I did like the name of your planet. That was really cool. Who came up with that?
I think we both did, actually.
Yeah, because it's a combination of our names.
Right, yeah, Marista.
Yeah. Sounds very Star Wars.
It does. It actually, and that's actually a cool way to come up with Star Wars names. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
And I only noticed this whenever the camera went to Justin and John's creation, because they had these really tall buildings, and they started lifting up the planet, and it's like, oh, that's right, these are on cables, and they had to fix, make sure the balance was good. Was that something that you worried about more towards the end, or were you as you built, you're kind of let's make sure it's balanced, da 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 da?
I think we balanced as we went.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. we kept making sure that we would lift it up and hold it together and make sure that it would balance. We wanted to be sure that that was not going to be an issue.
I
Right.
think ours
Yeah.
was really balanced by the end.
Oh yeah, it was. If you look at that gallery shot of the all the planets in the gallery, it looks
Yeah.
pretty balanced to me.
Yeah. I mean, like even. I forget whose it was. I think it was Justin and John's. Like, even though they repositioned things and stuff, theirs kind of still had a little bit of a tilt on it. And some of the others weren't quite as straight. But yeah, yours was nice and straight and, pretty much dead on.
We aim to please.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, you did fantastic on it. I think my favorite part was like the waterfall coming down the front. I thought that was a really, really, really cool accent piece. It was like having the water come down and then just dribble down. That was really cool. So of course, no one was paying attention to the stormtrooper at the top, and the clock is broken. Marcella, can you reprise your reaction? It was so perfect because you were just deadpan. It was like, what? It was so great.
And I love stormtroopers.
Yes.
How dare they take away our clock?
I found it funny that a stormtrooper did that because they always miss.
Right.
And
yet they were dead on with the clock this time.
Yep, they
broken
very
clocks
much
right
were.
twice a day.
Yep, that's very true. So did you, as soon as that happened, was it a sense of urgency? Because you knew you had 2 hours, and like you had said, you had kind of planned this is where we need to be. But did that unknowing of what was left in the clock kind of make you guys like, ooh, we gotta pick up the pace?
Yeah, I think we did. There was a little sense of unease, not having the clock to kind of rely on.
Right.
But I think the pace that we were working at, we were still pretty much on track, and I think we were pretty much done with like a minute or two before we actually had to like be done.
Right.
Yeah. So we weren't in super panic mode.
So prior to Will being like, you have 1 minute left, you guys were like, okay.
Like, okay, I think we're in a good place. We, as you saw, we were a little worried. I was a little worried about the height, like not having a, as Amy wanted, a focal point.
Right.
So that's what I was worried about with the last hour.
Yeah, and that is definitely something we're going to get into. UR was asking a question about how many days were in between the tapings of the show. We can't ask questions like that. This all has to be pre-approved by their PR person, and so like I can only ask certain things.
So we can talk about what aired. We can talk about anything on the air.
Yeah, anything on air we can talk about, but we can't talk about like things that are happening behind the scenes, so to speak, and stuff. So. That's legalese. That's just the way it is. So, judgment time. So, when everyone's bringing, their creations over and stuff, how did you, and obviously during the build portion, you're able to look around the room and see how people were doing. And aside from that, that focal point that you kind of found out about later, like, how did you think yours stacked up with everybody else's?
So I think one of the challenges of this being like the first episode is we're facing multiple challenges at once.
Yes.
So as much as we want to like look around the room and walk around and see what everyone else is doing, we first time in the brick pit, so we had to acclimate ourselves to that. First time with the clock, so we had to acclimate ourselves to that. We had to do a challenge, and it had to be an IP challenge. Right. So like we were working through all of these things at once. So as much as we really wanted to like gauge ourselves off of other people, I think we were just so focused on it, like getting something good out, something that told a good story, and the story of us.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we accomplished that with this storytelling of the Jedi Academy. I am really proud of everything that we did. I wish they had a better overhead shot so you could see the brick built river that we made that was in there and the heart shape, because we had a little nod to Pittsburgh with the river coming together and that Pittsburgh being the heart of, of Pennsylvania.
And where we're from, you know.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is definitely part of who you are.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of, and they kind of did that with all of them for the most part. They kind of like came in like side, from the side almost, and it's like you don't get necessarily a full picture, and maybe they were doing that because of how much detail you guys had, because you guys did have, I think you had a lot more detail than most of the people that it to me it looked like a lot of the builds were, they did a little main structure, and then they're like, oh, we'll add these figures, at the end or something like that. Whereas you guys incorporated it, since the beginning of your build and like made it so everything worked.
Yeah, that was kind of what we were going for.
And I think the other challenge we kind of faced was this was a 360-degree build.
Mm-hmm.
So we were trying to make sure that no matter what side you were coming at, you could clearly kind of see the story we were trying to tell.
Right.
So the problem with kind of the way things are shot sometimes, you only get that one angle, so you miss out on the other pieces.
Right.
I really enjoyed the big copper stacks that we did on the one side with the dishes on top. And you could see them from the one side, but if you really got in there, you could see, and there were some rock structures on the other side that were pretty cool. Proud of it. I like it.
Well, and you should be proud of it. I mean, like, that's a lot of work. That's a lot of, and having to plan, having to be like, we have to make this plan work. Like, it's not one of those things where it's like you get halfway through and you're like, we got to scrap the whole thing. We got to start over. You guys, what you did was fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, were you surprised by what the judges said about other teams?
No. Not at all.
Were you surprised about what they said about yours?
A little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. I felt like we had a really good story and a lot of detail because Amy loves detail,
Yep.
So we packed in a ton of detail. But I in hindsight, the focal point makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But in that moment, we focused on story and detail, and 10 hours goes fast.
Yes.
Yeah. And part of the challenge was to make sure that you were expressing yourself in the build, and I think we really did that. And I also think we had one of the more Star Warsy builds in the room.
I agree. My gripe with one of them in particular is the one that ended up being in second place, when it's like, well, wait a minute. They did a fire hydrant. That's not Star Warsy. They did a dog. That's not Star Warsy. Oh, they added a squirrel at the end. Well, that's not Star Warsy. We'll give him a lightsaber. Which doesn't really look like a lightsaber to me. But anyway, and then it was kind of like afterthoughts, like, oh, we need to put in Star Wars things. And I was like, no. I figured they kind of, now, did it put a lot of their personality into it because what they did, that was their profession or whatever? Sure, absolutely. But it seemed like the Star Wars portion of it was an afterthought.
Yeah,
it got a little lost, but it was bright and colorful, and it was a really good build, and he is a very good sculptor. I would love to build that squirrel.
It was a good build, yeah. I just don't think it achieved what they were looking for, but judges obviously saw otherwise.
Well, and it's the challenge of, like I said, on this one, we had to put ourselves into it. We had to put Star Wars into it. Like, how much do you lean into one or the other?
Right. Yep. So, and, you are mentioning, like, she doesn't think the tongue moved very well. No, I agree. I don't think the mechanics of their build worked very well either, the movement. So, but you did end up in the bottom two for the very first episode. So did you, based on, how they were going through prior to them, calling you up, and looking at the other builds, did you feel you would be in the bottom two, or did you think, I think we're good enough?
I thought we were safe.
Okay.
I really did. So I think when you see our reactions when we get called down, it was kind of surprising.
Yep.
Yeah, I thought we had done enough even though we didn't have that focal point, I thought our storytelling, our detailing, our landscaping, I was really proud of that waterfall. I thought that was our focal point. Like you could see it from far away and it brought you right to that, but everything is subjective and that's okay.
Well, your focal point was, see, and it's all, you're right. It is depending on who, what the judges feel, and like your waterfall definitely, does channel things and be like, here, come to where everything is, and like that's actually pretty noticeable. Like when your planet is hanging out there, that cascade of water is very noticeable. But I guess it's not tall. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the flip side, if we had done some sort of column or something in the middle, would we have been critiqued for being blocking the things behind it?
Right.
So
right.
It's in the eye of the judges,
Yep. Yep. So, when you saw who you were up against for the bottom two, did you feel that your build definitely was better than what you were facing or going up against?
I had no idea.
Me neither.
Yeah. And
I thought it could go either way, and I didn't want them to go home. I didn't want us to go home. I didn't want to go home first. Nobody wants to be the first person to go home. So,
right.
But it was going to suck no matter what.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely. Yep. And luckily, you guys were good enough. So, congrats, you are on to episode number 2. So after you're safe. You're told you're safe, and they're like, okay, go back to wherever for the next episode. What was your discussion between you two like about like, okay, how do we change things? How do we fit what they're potentially looking for? Because at least from how the judges said what they were looking for didn't quite fit what they actually looked for. You know what I mean? At least in my perspective.
Yeah, editing can be interesting sometimes. I think our reaction was like, holy crap.
Yeah.
We're this close.
Yeah. And I think it was, let's put that aside. Let's brush it off. Let's forget about it. Kind of put it behind us because we got to get ready. We got to get back in the ring.
Yep.
Tomorrow's a new day,
Yep, absolutely. So I have not seen, I looked around earlier for what was going to be episode 2. So I haven't seen any like preview or anything like that. Nothing's written or anything. So, huh? What's that?
It's on Wikipedia.
Oh, is it? Oh, they already have it on there. Oh, did they have all the episodes listed?
No, just the next one.
Okay.
For the next one.
Well, since it's on Wikipedia, can you say what episode it is?
I think so, can't we? If it's on Wikipedia.
I don't know.
Johnny, can you pull up Wikipedia?
Well, you are just said Wedding Cake is episode 2.
Wedding Cake.
Okay. Okay, Wedding Cake. So, we now know what the next episode is.
There's going to be a wedding.
Well, kind of figured that. So Will's getting married?
That would be a spoiler.
I know because it hasn't aired, we probably can't really talk about anything like that. Anything, at least not yet. We'll do that. We'll do that next time. Is there anything from this first episode that is a takeaway for you that we haven't talked about yet, or anything that you're like something you remember specifically, like something we might not have seen because again you guys build for 10 hours, and we only see, it's not even an hour really. I mean it's like 40 minutes, but a lot of it is like focusing on the people talking, and like, hey, this is who we are, blah blah blah. So
yeah, there's a lot of cuts in there. So you maybe only see what, like 15, 20 minutes of actual building.
Yeah, right.
Marcella, I'll let you answer first.
So I have a really fun memory of explaining Star Wars lore and history to
Ooh, okay.
Krista,
Go. Yeah.
and I'm kind of surprised it didn't make it in there. It was right around the time where she got to pick out her own lightsaber color. That's when I was working on the academy, and we each picked out our own lightsaber color. And I've had a little philosophical debate over why some people are called master with their first name and then master with their last name.
Oh, okay. All right.
And that didn't make it in either. But that was, we had a
So,
nice long Star Wars conversation while we were building.
so can you give us a condensed version of why you think that is, or why you know it is?
We didn't even come up with a solution. I didn't know.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's true because Qui-Gon is Master Qui-Gon. It's not Master Jin.
Exactly.
Yeah, Master
Obi-Wan
Yoda,
is
but he
Master
doesn't have a
Kenobi.
last name.
Right.
Yeah,
And then you've got Master Kenobi,
correct.
Master
Yep.
Windu,
Yep.
but Master Qui-Gon. Why is this? I don't know.
See, I guess maybe it's just how it sounds because like Master Mace just sounds weird.
It does. And Master Jin sounds weird too.
Yes, exactly. So maybe that's it.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah, for me, it's more of the story behind our build that didn't quite make it in. So, like, why we have like the reading area. We built that for Xander, my son,
Oh yeah.
because he was starting kindergarten at the time, and he and I read books together. So we had that in. Both of us being Gen X, we're both very big on 90s music. So that's why there's 90s music playing with the Cantina band.
Nice.
You know, me doing the training because that's what my job is essentially. I do training. And then Marcella's character because she just loves all things Star Wars.
Right.
And I'm dark side, and I'm teaching
Right.
force training. I'm doing lightsaber training
Yeah, so
because I built my lightsaber down in Florida.
so there's a much bigger story kind of like behind the build.
Right.
Especially with like that heart that was in there. We put Pittsburgh stuff in there, like with the rivers and everything. So I'm kind of sad that we didn't get to tell that story.
And even just that little bit probably would have been like, oh no, you have to condense this down to like 10 seconds. So like
Yeah.
that's why doing something like this is so important because like yeah, we would like because again, we get a quick overview of like here's the build, blah blah blah, and there there it goes. And then you get a far away shot again. So they did focus on like your individual characters and just like, hey, there's a Jedi Academy here. But like that was it. It was just the gloss over of like there are these things. They look really cool. But yeah, those deeper meanings and stuff that you guys put into it. Yeah, that's incredible.
I did like that they kept because we did have a little bit of I'm going to poo my pants a little bit when we found out that Anthony and Joe were also doing a training academy.
Oh yeah.
Which is why I said what I said in the judging. And
Yeah,
I'm glad
we were-
that made it in.
Right.
I think we were razzing them a little bit back and forth when we found out they were doing the same thing.
Oh, who's gonna do the better academy?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No, I.
That's why I had the little newest.
Yep. Hey, yeah, that's what you should do. You got to get your competition razzled up a little bit and be like, hey, you can make a mistake. Oh, Kristen asked, what color sabers did you choose for your individual characters?
I don't remember. I think mine might have been purple.
Okay.
If I
You're
went with how I normally think, it would be blue.
Okay.
I
Now I
can't remember what it ended up being. I mean, at home, mine is red.
Well, that is typically Sithy, but you could go purple or amethyst. You could go orange. Something, it just depends.
We
We
have
also
a
had a
lot of
question.
No, one is white and one is red.
Right. Oh, nice. I like that. Like dual colored.
I mean, I wear dark side around my neck every day. I'm dark
Right.
side.
Oh,
I
and
just
the
like
one, yeah.
blue.
Kristen made one at Disney, and it's purple.
Nice.
So, what is your favorite flavor cake? Since the wedding cake is the next up.
I like either a white cake or an almond cake with buttercream icing.
Ooh, almond cake. Ooh, so good.
And I know buttercream icing is like very polarizing, but when you put it in the fridge, it's very good.
And I like devil's food cake.
Mm.
And I am not a huge fan of icing. So the literal, like, as least amount of icing.
Right, right. So you want just the substance of the cake itself. You're like, icing? Pff, nah.
Yes. I recently heard there's a thing called a crumb cake where they basically just scrape icing on.
Mm.
That's for me.
Huh. Well, you is Team Marcella just because of that. All right. Well, I think we have gotten through all the questions that I have. Anything additional you can tell us that, goes with, this episode we went through, or anything in particular of like, your guys' planning, how much, did it adjust from like, what you did previously, on this episode to be like, looking forward to the next one, like, ooh, we gotta fix some things, or we gotta, discuss something more or whatever.
I think one of my favorite things I didn't mention was the brick pit itself.
Ooh, okay, yeah.
You cannot imagine, if you can think of a piece, it's probably in there. And it's probably in like 5 colors. Like the brick pit
nice.
is amazing. It's like a candy shop. And it's just, it's so beautiful.
Yeah, I agree about the brick pit. The challenge is like when you're designing, is you don't, because there's so many pieces, you don't know what's actually over there till you get over there.
Oh yeah. So
like when I design like in studio, I have every brick at my fingertips.
Right.
And like every color, real or imaginary, So you have to like plan but be flexible depending on what you can get in the brick pit, and essentially you're fighting with all your contestants.
Oh yeah.
Over what's in the brick pit.
Right.
So I think in this episode in particular, this gave us a good feel for like how the whole process works. Because not only you're navigating the challenge and being in a new environment, you're also navigating production.
Oh yeah, true.
Because you're mic'd up, you're on camera, and that's a whole different vibe.
Oh yeah.
Especially when you're mic'd up and on camera.
Things.
Huh?
We may have built small things together, but this was 10 direct, you're building for 10 hours.
Right.
And this is a big build, and it was the first time we built something big together. So that was another adjustment that we had to make. And we each had our own strengths, and we each tackled each different areas. But I think we worked really well as a team.
Totally.
Yeah, and I wonder if, because like when the camera focused on like certain teams, it was always, and again, TV loves drama. So like anytime they were like for instance, like when I said, they picked it, John and Justin picked up their world and like, ooh, that doesn't sit right. We got to fix that. That's that little bit of drama. Whereas you guys didn't have that. So it's like, yeah, we don't need that, because it's not like your world is like tilting all the way over or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't until the focal point where it was like, they have that little section of us freaking out about, you have to stand, you have to be close, you got to be real close.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And definitely building like for conventions and building on Lego Masters, that's probably something I didn't take into consideration as much as we probably should have.
Okay.
Because we can do some really awesome convention builds, but not necessarily thinking like, how does it translate to camera?
Oh yeah. Right. Yeah,
And
no,
for
that
TV.
makes sense. And that is because I if I recall correctly, now I didn't see season 4 of Lego Masters, and I'm not a lot of season 3, but like the first 2 seasons, I remember like everybody was there, kind of figuring out how to build and stuff, and then like nobody went home that first episode, which was different on this one, because I was like, they're not going to send anyone home, and then right away they're like, we got to send someone home, and it's like, Wow. So they don't even, you barely get in there to try and figure all the stuff out, like you were saying, and then someone's got to go. That's different and interesting.
Yeah, that started in season 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think the Australian version, no one goes home, the first 3 episodes?
Oh.
Yeah. And they also, the Australian version, they do it a little differently. Like they have 2 builds per episode. So you've got like a preliminary, and then you've got the big build of the night,
Right.
Man, with that would be cool.
Next time, right?
So
question from the chat: did your fingers hurt after building? Or I saw some people using like the little hammer things and stuff.
Yeah, so many tips and tricks that I now have a hammer. I've got forceps. Thanks to Krista. Krista's got me so many cool little tools. But yes, my fingers, like I didn't know your fingernails could hurt.
Yes.
Like from prying things apart, and it just everything hurts.
Mm-hmm.
Everything hurts.
I was gonna say I'm old. It always hurts.
Yeah.
There are times, because I know from building, because again, I've done the speed challenge, trying to do a world record for the Millennium Falcon, like taking apart some of the things if you mess up, and like after you've been building for a while, like a brick separator is nice, but there are times when it's just like your fingers just seem to work faster or whatever. So
Yep.
And once you've been building for a while, it's the tactileness. It's like ooh.
Yeah, and when you're doing it for you've done the Falcon, like that 10-hour span, at some points you're just like going through the motions and then you forgot exactly what you just did.
Yeah. Yep.
Gets to be a long day.
Yeah. Oh, I can imagine. Now, I don't know if we can ask this or not, but like, was there a break for lunch?
We filmed for 10 hours.
Okay, that's what I figured. Yeah. Yeah. So. Yeah, it's funny how like they like certain questions they don't because I submitted my first set of questions for the first interview and they were fine with all of them, and then I did them for this one and there were a couple of them that they were like no, you can't ask that, and I was like okay, all right, that's fine. So
the magic of television.
Yes, it is magical. It's like everything you see happened in an hour, even though it was 10.
I think we can talk about the bathroom breaks though.
Oh, okay.
if we needed to, that came off our time because that was during filming.
Oh, right. Okay, right. Okay. Well, that's good. So, yeah. Any. I guess it depends on again what you're allowed to say or not. Even if we get to the end and we're like, hey, are we allowed to talk a little bit about production a little bit more? Maybe. Well, I guess we'll find out. So.
Yep.
I mean, the best way to look at it is just to say, there's an open casting call for season 6. So if you want to know those behind the scenes secrets, fill out that application and make your, hope you get the call to come out to Legoland and audition for season 6.
Right, there you go. That's in what? That one's in California though, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So you guys were down in Atlanta.
Yeah, we did. We filmed in Atlanta.
Yeah. Okay. All right. The suspense is killing them. So, all right. Anything extra you want to say? Anything to give us a little whet our appetite for the wedding cake episode coming up on Monday?
It'll be delicious.
Delicious, and I'm so excited for everybody to see it.
Awesome. Is there anything Star Wars in your cake?
No.
I was just asking simply because it was Marcella. So.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Okay. Well, that's good.
There are some fun twists on this episode.
Okay.
Well, fun for you all. I don't know if it was fun for us.
Well, they did say at the beginning. They said this is the season with the most twists and stuff. So it's like okay.
They weren't lying.
Yeah.
They weren't lying. They were not lying. And
yeah, it's and I watched seasons 1 and 2, and then I kind of fell off of it because I was like, I don't know. It just wasn't as interesting. Obviously, with you two in here, it's way more interesting. It's more fun to be able to get to find out, your thoughts and feelings on everything that's gone on, and it's neat seeing how you guys work. And like, I know in the preview, we haven't seen it yet, but in the preview, there's like this moment where you guys like, and it's really the only thing that they have for in the preview for you guys, but it goes right to the friendship thing, and you guys are hugging, and that was really cool.
Yeah. I love that. I love that little clip. It's one of my favorite clips. I mean, and the one thing that we keep going, we're like, we did that in 10 hours. Our first challenge was 10 hours. Season 1, they had like 15 hours. We did it in 10 hours.
Nice.
Yeah. I will say this. It's very interesting the way that they kind of structured this season. This is probably one of the most challenging seasons to date.
All right.
Absolutely.
Well, we look forward to, in a few days, seeing how well you do with your wedding cake. And, yeah.
Oh, I do want to add one more thing.
Oh, sure.
We absolutely loved, during the watch party, when we didn't go home, the crowd reaction. That was amazing. That was absolutely amazing.
It was like that meme in the bar when everybody goes crazy.
Yeah, where they're like, watch out the screen, and everyone's like, whoa.
Yes, that's what it felt like.
It was like someone scored a goal in World Cup, and everyone's like, yeah.
Yeah. As much as we love Nick and Kendall, because we love Nick and Kendall.
Yes,
right. Well, and that's kind of what we discussed afterwards, because even before, I know I was talking with Keith and his wife and my wife, and we were like, is it okay to cheer for the other team going home?
Yeah.
Because
that gives you a kind of an idea of how hard this is, because I don't know if everybody watching this knows or not, but Nick is the designer of the Twilight House.
Oh, really?
He's the band designer of the Lego Twilight House.
Ah.
So, yeah.
And Kristen has that one. Huh. Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really, they're both like amazingly sweet, wonderful people.
Right.
Yeah.
But,
Go get that set.
Yeah. Wow.
Well,
I didn't know that.
At the end of the day, all but one team's going to go home at some point.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Yep. We just know it's not going to be, we know who it isn't going to be right now. Just one.
Right.
And I'll say, the one last thing I'll say is we just want to thank everybody that came out again to the watch party, and like seeing the kids like come up to us and be so, it was just so awesome. And we had one little girl gave us bracelets that we are wearing.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah. So it was fun. We had a lot of fun. So thank you all for coming out and supporting us.
Oh, absolutely.
Truly.
Kristen just posted and said, we weren't so much cheering for them to go home, but more for you staying, which totally, that's exactly what it was. But,
that's exactly
we were happy for our hometown girls to make it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, everybody.
And if anybody has a video of that, send it to us, because we wanted to see that.
Oh, yeah.
Videotape that
That's
moment,
true.
Send it to us.
Yeah. If anyone was recording, whether on their phone, whatever, and recorded that moment whenever that was like they were able to stay, send it to them, get them on Discord or post it in the the lug forum, and that would be really cool.
Yeah.
That is definitely an epic moment right there, because the cheering was pretty deafening. I mean, like, there was close to 100 people in there.
I think it was closer to 150.
Really? Oh, geez.
Yeah. Because we filled up that entire area except that front row of tables.
Oh, where the TVs were.
Yeah, and the capacity for that space was 250.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it was incredible seeing, and like every time you got, and again, I it's probably good because of how much cheering we did do, but like only when you guys came on, like everyone's like kind of like, oh yeah, da 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 and stuff, and then as soon as you came on the screen, everyone's like, woo.
I loved that. That was amazing.
And when I rewatched it at home, I was like, I don't remember that part. I don't remember that part. I remember that part.
Well,
I have a cute little moment with the the stormtroopers when I was walking past them.
Oh yeah, and they did their little comment or whatever.
Yeah, and I was like, excuse me, excuse me, excuse me.
Yeah. Pardon me.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for joining me again. As long as things go, continue on, and you guys want to, we'll make this a regular thing, and we'll do another one when episode 2's done.
Sounds great. Thanks for having us.
All right. Till next time, everyone. Keep on building. We'll see ya.